Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity for me to discuss with you about how to improve the sustainability report in Vietjet Air and take full advantage of that. So, in the discussion today, I will focus on the four main questions for the new improved report. Who should we serve? Why should we do it? In which format will we deliver the report? How to deliver the reports? And also what topics to discuss in those reports. But before diving into these main four questions, I think it's important for us to understand the overall context. So we need to have a look at the aviation industry and specifically the Vietjet sustainability issues. Let's look at the issues. So according to various estimates, if the aviation industry is a country, it is the 12th largest emitters of CO2 to the environment. So that is already a big high profile problem, especially for an industry that is well known, high profile by everyone. But the situation is even more complex because in the aviation industry we emit the complex chemicals directly into the air at a higher altitude than any other industry, and this high altitude make the net contribution of our industry to climate change to be up to 12%, and it's a huge problem. And it's already a fact that aware by the industry itself. So even though we have the projected growth in air travels of 3x up to 2050, we target to do that with a reduction in CO2 emissions. And actually from 2020, it is in the target that we need to keep carbon neutral growth. We need to grow the business, but with the same level of CO2. How to do that? There are different solutions. There are biofuel, there are new modern aircraft, and they are optimizing the effort to optimizing operations. But the point here is that it is something that everyone in the industry have agreed to do, and as Vietjet Air is one member of the International Aviation Transport Associations, we need to contribute effort to these targets. And at the same time, aviation industry is an industry that is bringing huge value to the world, but not sustainable financially. It's a very hard, tough, and competitive business. And in fact, the average net profit margin of Asia Pacific carriers in 2017 is thus 2.9%. And I think this quote from the CEO of IATA is the most telling thing. For most other business, that would be considered a normal level of return to investor. But 3 years of profits is a first for the airline industry. So what is normal in any other industries is considered as a huge success in the airline industry, and very recently that we've been able to achieve that. So it's no wonder that PwC or other consultant service, they said that aviation industry is just burning capitals. And there are also numerous other sustainability issues such as social security, shifting demographic, more people being older and more people have difficulty moving around, and how do we deal with the safety issues of the transport, especially in the light of recent events such as the Boeing 737 MAX. We have noise issues, we have a large numbers of employees around the world. So there are a lot of issues that is very unique to the industry. So how does those issues apply to Vietjet? Actually, it's quite positive, because for the first issues about CO2 emissions, it is well known that one of the key factors is to have modern aircraft, because modern aircraft have lower emissions and higher efficiency. Actually, Vietjet has the youngest aircraft fleet in APAC, which is 2.8-year-old, and this is like half of Asia average. So that's very good. And for the requirement from the governments or from associations, Vietjet is kind of 100% obligated. We do we perform reports well according to local laws, such as the law that requires to disclose environmental and social impact in our annual financial report. We also sign different contracts, and one of the major one is the SFCO2 contract with Saffron Group that already helped the test to save 3.6 million of kilogram of CO2 of fuel in 2018. And in terms of profit, this is really a shining point for Vietjet, because we have 11.2% net profit margin, like almost four times bigger than the average Asia Pacific Airlines. And this is thanks to Vietjet having the lowest cost per kilometer globally. And for other issues, it's also quite good because we already have been awarded the top 10 sustainable development business in Vietnam early 2018. So those are the issues. How Vietjet is doing the sustainability report right now. If we look at the question of who, why, how, what, we can see that right now we only target investors and government. We only target the one who read the annual report, let's say. And the main reason can be said that it's just for compliance and for company image. Why would the public think that way? Why don't they believe that we do sustainability effort based on goodwill or ethical reason? Well, it's because on the how questions, we are only providing very generic information in just 2 or 4 pages in a report of 80 pages. And we only talk about what? We only talk about a few separated fragment of efforts on social activities, on emissions very broadly, and the things that any other kind of business can do, like telling employees to turn off electricity after use, something like that. So if Vietjet is not facing sustainability crisis, then why change? Why don't we just keep this? So to understand that, I think we will need to take a step back to look at some academic theory, and the one that I use today is stakeholder theory. So it defines the stakeholder very broadly, that anyone who is affected by the organization objectives. So it's not just the government, but also the customers, the association, the societies at the destination, not just the local society, the citizens who live near the airport, who suffer from traffic, from noise, the employees, investors, partners, media, airport staff, like a lot of different stakeholders. So in some theory, they said that an ethical organization should consider all of these stakeholders equally. But personally, I think it's impractical. So I would like to introduce you to the managerial stakeholder theory, in which they divide all of these stakeholders into 2 groups, the primary and the secondary. The primary one are the one that we need their continuing participation to do business as usual and to survive and to grow. And the secondary, they influence or affect, but not essential for the survival of the company. So you can see that I identify here 7 primary stakeholders, and I think we need to operate and disclose. We have to have operating and disclosure policies to answer to the needs and concerns of all these primary stakeholders. So not just the government, not just the investors, but also the partners who provide us service and products, also the media, and very important, the employees and the customers. Because we cannot survive without employees or customers. I think that's clear. So why would these stakeholders care about sustainability report? How can sustainability report help them? So for some of the institution, the most important thing they care about is the business performance, and sustainability report can help on business performance. There are numerous reports with surveys done with CEOs around the world to show that doing sustainability report can help in business performance. But how? First, easy. What get measured, get managed, if we never before measured our use of plastic, and we never measure about how we manage waste, then of course it's not being managed as good as it can be. And by doing sustainability report in a better way, in more topics, we can identify areas for improvement. It can have to maintain the legitimacy of the companies, to have the company to have long-term success and to be stable and to reduce risk. So it is really useful for the companies. Secondly, it's written in the mission of Vietjet Air to become a favorite and trusted brand name. And sustainability is a very important topic that is on the rise of many societies and customers. And we can see on media there are more and more people calling for choosing one business over others because of the way they do packaging, the way they reduce plastic cup, the ways they promote environmental care. So it especially useful for the low-cost carrier like Vietjet Air, because we are, as discussed in the financial topic, we are operating in a very competitive and tough business. And for the low-cost carrier, there are very few differentiate factors between the providers. And in some surveys, when they survey customers of Vietnam Airlines and Vietjet Air, the keyword that they associate Vietnam Airlines with is luxury and comfort. And the keyword for Vietjet Air is affordable. So let's imagine the customers, they are choosing Vietjet Air and they accept the current level of service quality of Vietjet Air because it is affordable. So what if we are not just affordable but also sustainable? So affordable and also environmental friendly, social, affordable and responsible. That will totally change the feeling of the customer. So okay, I purchased this ticket, I choose this airlines not just because it's cheap, not just because I'm cheap, but it's also because it is a well-recognized company that care about the environmental, and I'm purchasing the cheap ticket also doing good for the earth, doing good for the society. That is should really influence customers' choice, loyalty, and satisfaction. And in turn, that increases brand value, and that helps for both investor and employees and the customers. And the third point about why we do the report is to position our company ahead of our direct competitors and on par with the big players. So on the globally recognized sustainability report from GRI, they have a database of all the sustainability report from over the world. Asia, Delta, Vietnam Airlines, they either do not submit the report or doing non-standard report. And what Vietjet Air do right now is similar to Vietnam Airlines. But if we can up our game to be on par with China Airlines and Singapore Airlines, then it will put our companies in a really good position that match with the dream of the board to make Vietjet Air an international player. So that's the three main reasons why I think we should improve the way we do sustainability report to really increase business performance, to become a favorite and trusted brand name, and to position a company ahead of the low-cost carrier. And both of these three is already reflected in Vietjet Air mission statement. So I think it is important for all of the stakeholders here. Now, about how to do the report. So on the left side, you can see the list of stakeholders, which are institutions who really care about the annual report. So I think the annual report, we need to do it in the GRI standards way, and we need to do a separate GRI standard sustainability report. Why I recommend GRI, which is a short for Global Reporting Initiative, because simply is this the format the standards that being used the most and widely accepted globally by top 250 corporations or by top players in the aviation industry. The second reason I suggest GRI standards is because of its flexibility. So besides the universal point, the foundation point, the critical concepts and principles that we need to follow, they have a big list of topic-specific standards on economic, environmental, and social, and we can choose to the material topics that most closely related to our situations in order to have the most effective reports possible. So that is for the annual report. But I believe that we are all well aware that there are almost no customers who read this kind of the report, right? So for the employees, for the media, and for the customers, I recommend Vietjet to also disclose about sustainability effort on social media, on forums, on news report. In this screenshot is one campaign from Virgin Atlantic. Change is in the air, just will be program, and it's fun. It's fun to look at, and it makes, if I am their customer, it will make me feel a little bit better about my purchase decision. And we doesn't need to copy this, but I think it's really important to establish a place where we can discuss directly with the customer who have problem, where we can run campaigns to improve the brand image of the company. And the final question is about what information in annual report. So here you can see a list of material topic that I pick from both the suggestion from GRI when they do the topics per sector suggestion on 2013. It's also by referencing China Airlines sustainability report. But it's important to note, it's important to disclose that these suggestions after a quick external research. Is really important for the company, for the board, for the management to really have internal discussion to identify the material topic that really match to Vietjet situation. And for the annual report, we need to talk about all of the topics such as noise, renewable, carbon offsetting, which is in economic because we have to pay for the carbon that we emit, and human traffic risk and child abuse, and charity, philanthropy, events. So we need to talk about all of that in the annual report. But this, I would like to highlight a few topics that I think would be really good for us to do branding on media, on forums, on social media, like the use of plastic products on board, the use of the specific initiatives that we are doing to increase the efficiency of energy, of fuel. And it's really good if we can have different campaigns to raise awareness from the public about how Vietjet Air contribute to the jobs and economic, because we do, because it's essential for the economy to have air transport, both for goods and for people, right? And the final two recommendation is to have a really focused on travelers with disabilities and medical conditions, because in 2015 Vietjet Air already have a public image crisis with this, and very recently, just last week, there are also a viral post on Facebook complaining about this. So the lack of a channel for Vietjet Air to speak directly with the customers and resolve these issues on time is not good, and we should improve that. And finally, for the charity and philanthropy, I really want Vietjet to focus on the events that's closely related to the main service. So I don't think it is useful to have events such as the one in the past where we just giving gifts to the people, or we just raise money for building schools, stuff like that, because the public can critically look at that and say, hey, it's just they are just doing that for their image. It's not coming from the heart. They are spending more money than they're actually helping people. But I think the kind of events, such as the events when we can transport the worker to their hometown instead for free, that kind of event that really have to boost the image of the company, but also as a way to educate the future customers, right? Because it's not that much expensive traveling by Vietjet Air than by train or by bus these days. So for the customers, for the future customers who may not think about us, when they look at those kind of events, they will think about us. So to sum up, this is the whole transformation. From the current status, I would recommend that to transform into this, taking care of more stakeholders, have a clear understanding of why we're doing this. We're doing this for real performance, for real brand value, and for company positioning. And how to do it, we not just plug in a few pages in the financial report, but we should do a standalone report that is GRI based. And at the same time, we also need to build a platform where we do frequent media campaigns to speak directly with the customers and employees. And finally, the list of topics has to be all material issues that the board, and if you need, my consultant, I can be involved in that as well in the future, to identify all material issues that can either impact the stakeholders or influence their decisions. And that is the discussion I have today. Thank you for your attention.